Okay, we will need 8 cards for this example of a Bessie sequence. We're going to be showing you some new shuffles today. And so what I thought we would do is we'll go ahead and get our cards in a slightly different way than normal. Okay, so let me just mix these best I know how. And I just want to show you the cards so that you can kind of get a sense as to how well mixed they are. Okay, you're going to spread them out for you to see. Does that look okay? Okay, very good. Okay, so what we're going to do differently this time is drop the cards everywhere. That's something different. We're going to just use the Klondike shuffle to obtain 8 cards. Okay, so that's where you take the top and bottom off as 1. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, very good. So we got 8 random cards there. Okay, now what we would like to do is review some of our shuffles that preserve Bessie sequences, and we've been doing that lately. Now, one that we haven't reviewed recently is called the Charlier 1. Okay, so the Charlier 1 is where you move over the top card, and then the bottom card, this card right here, goes on top. The top card here goes on the bottom, bottom on top, top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom, bottom to top. Okay, so that's called a Charlier 1. So I don't think we've reviewed that one recently. Of course, we have the old standby, the LR shuffle with random stacking decided by the spectator. Let's see, we could do a mange. So maybe we'll do a under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Okay. We could do what's called a Bessey 2-2. So this is where you take the top 2 cards, 1, 2 from the top, 1, 2 from the bottom without dropping them. 1, 2 from the top, 1, 2 from the bottom. Okay, that's called a Bessey 2-2. And why don't we go ahead and do a Faro. This will be a good review because we're going to do something with a Faro shuffle that's new today. So this is where you just break it up into 2 halves. Now, technically, depending on how you perfectly interlace these, one of these will be a Faro in, and the other one will be a Faro out. Now, for what we do, it actually doesn't matter. Both work just fine. So the key is just perfectly interlace them and you're safe there. So that's a Faro shuffle. You may also remember the Australian shuffle. So down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down. Last one goes on top. Let's see, I think we've recently shown you the pairwise transpose. This is where you deal out 2 cards at a time, and we're free to stack these from left to right or right to left. So we can do this leapfrog if you would like, kind of stacking. That's just fine. Okay, now the new ones for today, I want to focus on the new ones. The first one's called, in the abbreviations, AKF. Well, AK is for alternate Klondike. And if you recall, this is where you do a Klondike, you Klondike pairs to the table, but you do it in a left-right alternating fashion. Now, with a regular alternating Klondike, you're free to stack these left on right or right on left. Okay. Now, what we're going to do differently is the spectator can freely choose either one of these to flip over. So flip it face up, and then random stack. Okay, so we can kind of randomly stack these together. Okay, so that is a alternate Klondike. Why don't we do another one of those? Just for fun here. So we'll go like this, like this. They can freely flip either one and then stack those. Okay. Now, one step that I actually forgot to do, it's not absolutely essential, but it actually helps kind of mix things. Before we even started the shuffling, I could have given you the chance to point to maybe 2 or 3 cards in that little packet of 8, and we'd flip those face out from their current orientation. So if you would like to do that now, just point to any of these cards and I'll just flip it from, you know, its current orientation. Want that one? So you want that one flipped back down? Okay, that's fine. What else? This one? So I guess flipping that would be face down now. Okay, and what else would you like? You want the 3 flipped from its current orientation? Okay, so we could have done that before we started the mixing, by the way. Okay, and in some ways it probably would have been best to do it then. I just kind of forgot to offer you that additional free choice to kind of begin to mix the cards. Okay, so this alternate Klondike, it really is just a Klondike in which you go left, right, and now random flip either one, random stack. Okay, so I call that the AKF, F for flip. Now the other one I was going to show you is, it's actually a Faro shuffle, but this is where you actually flip either half before you interlace them. So that's very different than what we've done before. Now a way to do this, just if you watch, you kind of have to watch how I grab the cards. If you grab the cards, like we're going to grab half of them, so let's say the bottom half, and then go like that, it'll be easier to kind of interlace these. So you can interlace these perfectly however you would like. Okay, so whether it's Faro in or Faro out, it actually doesn't matter. Why don't we mix in another alternate Klondike at this point, just to really begin to mix these. Which one do you want? This one flipped? Which one on top? That one on top of that one? Okay, and you have to realize that if you were here, you could make these free choices. It really is a free choice. Why don't we do one more random flip Faro is what I call it. So here you just grab half the cards. You can flip either half, by the way, but I'm just flipping the left. And then you just perfectly interlace these however you like. Okay. Okay, so that is a Faro shuffle in which one of the halves is randomly flipped before they're interlaced. Okay, so you can do any quantity of those you like, or any of the other shuffles, by the way. So why don't we do that really fast? So you remember the LRF? That's the left, right, and this is where you can randomly flip one and then randomly stack. Okay, so that's when we showed you. I think we also showed you the up-jog flip, right? So this is where maybe you push forward the even position cards, strip those out, randomly flip one, and then random stack. Okay, so this is still, we're going back to review there, I guess. That's not a new one. Now, another new one I wanted to throw in to include it with the 2 new ones today, so this will be a third one, is something called a folding procedure. Okay, so how this works is you push over the top card and then you like fold it like you're folding the pages of a book. You fold it on top of the second card. Now you take those 2 cards together and you kind of fold them onto the third card. You take the 3 cards now and fold them onto the fourth. So it's kind of fun, actually. It's like you're just folding up this book that never ends. But it will end because we only have 8 cards. Okay, so that's called a folding procedure. And boy, that did quite a bit there. It almost put them all back. Okay. Now, if you're bothered by that, we can have you flip any of these. You want one flip face up? Which one? That one? Okay. Will make you feel better? Okay, very good. Okay, so we can do as many alternate Klondike with random flipping of 1/2, or Faro where you randomly flip 1/2, or you can do this folding procedure. Why don't we do one more of those? Okay, so you just push over the top and then you fold it on top of that one, this one on top of that one, those 3 on top of the fourth, the 4 here on top of the fifth on top of the 6th, these 6 on top of the 7th card, and then these 7 cards on top of the 8. Okay? So there we go. So we get kind of this big old mess here. Okay, so what we're going to do is just divide these into two piles of 4 cards each. That's what we're going to do. So maybe I'll give you one. I'll have a couple there. Give you another one. I'll take that. Maybe I'll have 2. We have to make sure. Did we each get? Yeah, we each got 4. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at, I don't know if you want to look at the, well, let's look at the prediction first. It doesn't really matter, but I have a written prediction here. Okay, so one pile will consist of 2 jacks and 2 kings. Okay, that's 4 cards. The other pile will have a queen and 3 kings. I'm not sure if that makes sense there. How is that? Wait, do I have 2 decks here or something? Okay, so let's just see what we have. That's kind of a weird prediction there. Let's just see here. Okay, so what is the prediction again? Let's see, so one pile will have 2 jacks and 2 kings. It doesn't. It has 1 jack and 2 jacks, 2. Wait a second. 2 jacks and 2 kings. Slightly cryptic there. What does the other pile say? The other pile will have a queen and 3 kings. A queen, oh yeah, that works. A queen and 3 kings. Oh, okay, that makes sense now, because, I mean, otherwise we're going to have 5 kings. There's only 4 of them. How in the world did we make that prediction true here? Wow, that is absolutely inexplicable. How did we do that after all that randomization of the cards? And we chose 8 random cards from the deck. How could this prediction rather cryptically but perfectly describe what we found? 2 jacks, 2 kings, a queen, and 3 kings. Wow. Okay, so that's what we're looking at today. How did we do that? So how did we do that? Well, at the heart of it, of course, what really makes it work is this Bessie sequence. And that's because all of the shuffling that we did will not harm this special structure here. Okay? So the key is we need to get the cards in this structure, and then it'll be safe against all these many shuffling procedures in which the spectator is given just a whole host of random choices that they can make. Okay, so what are the mechanics for this? Let me just kind of talk through how I did this. This one took a little bit more thought in terms of like designing the crazy effect. But, you know, once I tell you how to set it up, then there won't be much work for you, actually. Okay, so why don't I just step through kind of my reasoning as to why I set up the deck the way I did. Okay, so if you remember, we started with a shuffled deck, right? You remember I shuffled the deck. Well, it was shuffled up to a point. I shuffled it while retaining the top 4 cards in their current position and the bottom 4 cards in their current position. Now, retaining a set of 4 cards at the top or bottom is not too difficult. If you try to retain like 8 cards at the top or bottom, that is much harder to do. It's very easy to miss it, to end up kind of mixing those in when you wanted to leave them as a block. Okay, so I had 4 special cards on top and 4 special cards on the bottom, and then I did this retaining the top and bottom stock. And of course, the way that you do that, of course I have some cards out, but that's okay, is you have to make sure that you get, you know, quite a few cards over here on the left falling, at least 4. And then here on the right, you have to make sure you have at least 4 that are falling last on the right. Okay, you can do as many of those as you like, and it will keep your 4 cards at the top and bottom safe. Okay. Now, how did I decide how to arrange these little cards? You know, these 8 cards. Okay, because if you remember, I shuffled it, and I kept the top 4 and bottom 4 safe. And then to get our 8 cards for this effect, I did a Klondike shuffle. I did this kind of thing. Okay, so I did a Klondike shuffle. Okay, so the only real engineering that you kind of have to think through is we're going to want a certain order to the cards after the Klondike shuffle. Okay, so that you can fairly easily reverse engineer. So let me just go ahead and show you the actual deck setup order, and then it's set up in such a way that once the Klondike shuffle is performed, we're going to get the cards exactly as we want them, or at least in an arrangement that will work for this effect. Okay, so what I need, what I went with is I had this on the very top of the deck, followed by a jack, just like that, and then a 2 of hearts, and then an ace of diamonds. So this was on the top, just like that. So let go like this, and then we had like the rest of the deck right there. That's a whole bunch of them there, all in the middle. And then the bottom 4, the order for those was 2 of clubs, and then a 3 of spades, I believe, and then, yeah, if I remember, ace of diamonds. And then at the very bottom, I had a king. I remember the king's on sort of either end there. Okay? So what I need to do here is I'm going to go ahead. So these need to be on the bottom, so it needs to kind of go like that, right? So if I gather these all up, they're going to be in that arrangement. Okay, and now what you do from here is you just riffle shuffle this while retaining the bottom 4 and the top 4. Okay, so you're retaining the bottom, what's called the bottom stock, and the top stock. That's the name you give it. Bottom and top stock. The stock here is just 4 cards at either end is all you're preserving. Okay, so let's check to see if I did that. Looks like I had to do a little correction if you notice that. So let's see if I've preserved it. Looks like that's what I wanted if you rewind the video. And what about on top? Yes, I want 2 of clubs, 3 of spades, queen of hearts, queen of diamonds, king of hearts. Okay. Now there are other ways to do it, right? Okay, I've shown you this before. If you take off a good block, this is the top. You just kind of go like this. We don't really care about all the other ones. Like this, like this. And I'd want at least 4 down here at this bottom. So if in your mind's eye you can see top, bottom. And so you can kind of pick these up in different orders, maybe like that, like this. And now this one I want on bottom, so I'll just drop that and leave it on bottom. This one I want on top, so I'll drop this one here and then this one here. Okay. So if you just are attentive and pay attention to where you're putting things, there are ways to, quote, kind of scramble the cards in packets or something. You could even do a table wash. That gets a bit trickier if you're trying to preserve the top and bottom, but it's done. Now that we have the deck set up the way we want, what we need to do now is just tell the spectator we'll need 8 cards for this effect. And a fun way to get cards is to just Klondike pairs of cards to the table, especially if you're needing an even number of cards, which we are. We're needing 8. So if you just kind of deal out 4 pairs, like so, okay, that gives us 8 cards to work with, okay? Now, before we go on and step through the presentation again, I just want to show you as the performer what's going on now. So where are these cards relative to their organization? Okay, so what are we looking at? And do we have the right kind of structure? Okay, so think about this. remember, we're wanting, in the end, we're wanting a pile that has a 2, not 2 jacks, but a 2. I think it's 2 clubs or something. So a 2, and then a single jack, and then another 2, and a single king in one pile. And then we need 1 queen, an ace, and a queen. And then we need a card value 3, and then a king. Okay? So that's what we're needing. So just think through. In fact, I'll just put this up here so we can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so if you focus on the positions that are marked as 1s, they're going to be put into the same pile at the end. So what we're saying is we'll have the ace will be in one pile together with the 3 of spades. And together with those will be the queen of diamonds and the king of spades. Okay? So that is going to be one of the desired piles because we'll have a queen, right? So it's just silly play on the words, on the names. And then we'll have a 3 of spades paired with a king of spades. Okay? So we'll be calling that a queen and 3 kings. And then the other pile is associated with the zeros. So we'll have a couple of 2s, and then a jack and a king. And if you notice, the suits are matched up so that this 2 is matched with the jack of clubs, which is, well, we have 2 jacks, and then 2 kings. Okay? As long as we don't destroy the relative position of these cards as groups of 4, as labeled here, all of this is going to work out in the way that it did in the presentation. Okay, so that's the key. Okay, so at this point, what you can do before you start mixing this, you just ask the spectator to point to 2 or 3 cards, and those cards are going to be flipped face up from their current orientation. So maybe they choose that one, and then maybe this one. Okay, so they choose 3 of them. Okay, now you might wonder, why do I do that? Well, if you don't do it, in fact, try that. Go through all of this without without randomly flipping 2 or 3 of these cards, and what you'll see is there'll be too much regularity to the down-facing cards relative to the up-facing cards. Okay, so it might tip off the spectator that, some structure is being preserved in some unknown way. Okay, but if you randomly flip some of these, when we go to flip cards in kind of a systematic way with flipping half of them and then shuffling them together or whatever, there will be no apparent connection between which cards are face up and which cards are face down. All of that will be destroyed because of these actions here. Okay, so anyway, it's just a way to kind of help muddy the waters a little bit for the spectator and make it nigh impossible for them to have any idea as to what's going on or how they could even possibly do what we showed you in that presentation. Okay, and then in the presentation, I reviewed a whole bunch of the shuffles that we've shown you so far. That's the Mange. I don't know if did I do a Charlier 1? I think maybe I did. You can do an Up-Jog. You can do an Australian shuffle. You could do a pairwise transpose. That's one that we've shown you recently. Or you can even leapfrog, how you stack those. Okay. You can do a Faro. You can do a Bessie 1-1 or Bessie 2-2. You can do that into 4 piles and then reverse 4 piles. And so any one of the many shuffles that we've shown you. And then the new ones we're showing you today are these. The alternate Klondike with random flipping of either half and then random stacking. So you alternately go 2, 2, 2, 2 with the Klondike shuffle. The spectator is free to flip either half and then random stack these. So I call that the AKF, alternate Klondike with random flip shuffle. And then the other one we showed you was a Faro shuffle in which you randomly flip one of the halves. So here, like if you take the bottom half and flip it, it won't matter how you perfectly interlace these. They do need to be perfectly interlaced, but it doesn't matter like which card's above the other one when you begin that interlacing, because both of those will work. One will technically be a Faro in, the other one will be a Faro out, okay? And then the other new one that we showed you today is the folding procedure. So this is where you move the top card over, and then you fold it on top of the second card. We have now 2 cards, and we fold them onto the third. We have 3 cards over here. You fold them onto the fourth, 4 here onto the 5th card, 5 cards here onto the 6th, 6 cards onto the 7th, 7th card folded onto the 8th. Okay, so that's called a folding procedure. And believe it or not, that also preserves this special structure. So that's another mixing technique that leaves this unharmed. Okay? And then from there, once you've done a bunch of shuffling in which you give the spectator the essential choices of, okay, how should we do this? Left on right, or do things from right to left? Should we do a leapfrog, or whatever it might be? Or they can dictate the quantity of shuffles and the order of the shuffles, of course. So once the cards have been, sufficiently mixed, you go ahead and just divide them according to our special sequence here. So in your mind's eye, this is the only thing you need to remember ever for the Bessie sequence of order 8. It's a 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, so as you deal them out, whoever you give the 1 to the first card to, you can say in your mind's eye, in your mind you're thinking 1, 0, 0, 1. So you've taken care of those. And then let's see, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay? And so that will separate the cards into 2 piles, where the cards in the 2 piles will satisfy our prediction here, right? So one pile will, quote, have 2 jacks, not really, and then 2 kings. Now what's kind of fun about this is they'll see this and then they'll look at the piles and they'll think, oh, you blew it, right? I mean, of course, they're going to go, there aren't 2 jacks here. Let me just flip this over. And that's the one pile being referred to here. You say, well, one pile will have 2 jacks and 2 kings. You go, well, that's not it. There's only 1 jack and 1 king. And then you go on to the next one. The other little packet will have a queen and 3 kings. Okay, so a queen and 3 kings. Okay, and they'll be equally puzzled by that. They'll go, okay, you have a queen, you have 1 queen, but you have an ace, and you also have a 3, and then you have a king. You only have 1 king, you don't have 3 of them. Okay, and it's very possible that if you have you just pretend to be kind of confused as you look at those, and you refer back to the clue, and you go, that's kind of weird. I really thought it was going to work out this way. And the more astute spectator will probably see the connection. They're going to go, oh, wait a second. There are, quote, 2 jacks, quote, 2 kings, and there is a queen and 3 kings, right? Because they may also notice that this is not possible unless you have more than 1 jack in play. Right? You can't have 5 kings. So anyway, it's just kind of a fun way to throw them off a little bit and have them puzzle through. Oh, now, wait a second. Is this prediction in the end actually true? And if so, how in the world could you have accomplished that starting with a shuffled deck of cards? Well, that part of the secret is not really truly a shuffle deck. We've retained the top and bottom 4 cards. And then we did the Klondike and so forth to get the cards. So anyway, that's another 3 mixing procedures, the alternate Klondike with random flip of either half, the Faro shuffle with random flip of either half before you interlace them perfectly, and then this folding procedure is actually a third shuffling that preserves Bessie sequences. So thanks for watching, and take a look at the other videos in this little mini series, and take a look at the many videos on the Hidden Structures channel. So thanks for watching.